Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a bit of a wax melt off to share with you. Before we go any further, I have nothing on my nails, but I do have something on my lips, which is Revlon's Ultra HD Matte Lip Color Metallic in the color HD Glam. So that's what I have. All right, you guys. So I kind of was taking a look at my stash, and I was like, oh, I have a lot of Fruit Loops. A lot of things that are labeled Fruit Loops. So I thought I'd take the three things that were mainly Fruit Loops and do a wax melt off. So I have three different companies, one Canadian vendor, two American vendors. And what I did is I decided to, one at a time, melt them in the same places. I'll explain in a moment. Again, to give all fairness, so that every single one of these had the same amount of fairness when it comes to reviewing and so on and so forth. I do not have air conditioning. None of my melters are near a window at all. So that I'm fortunate. There's no fan, no nothing like that. I live in a nice dark, like it's nice and it's bright. But in its hottest part of the day, I am very cool actually. When I come home from work right now, it is balmy outside and I walk in and it's probably about 10 degrees, 15 degrees cooler in here, which is awesome. So I decided to do a Fruit Loops wax melt off with three different companies like I mentioned. Each of these, I'll tell you what they are in a moment. Each of these were split in half, and half went into one warmer right over my shoulder here. And that's a 25 watt Bath & Body Works. And then one went into my kitchen, which is just a part of this whole big great room just over that way. And it is a Mainstays wax warmer, and it's up 25 watt, I believe, 24, 25 watt. So, and I melted them, and then I'm going to tell you how I thought about them. Now, I'll just tell you what they were. I find that Tiffany's, when they do the bags as well, this is not Tiffany's, but when they do these bags and these labels, I find the same thing. They start rubbing off, and it's sad because I'm like, well, good thing I know what it is. This is from Make Sense Candle Shop, which is the only Canadian vendor I have in this wax melt off. She's closed right now. She'll be back, she said, probably mid-September. So, but this is Fruit Loops. You can barely tell, but yeah, so Make Sense Candles from Canada. I also have a Fruit Loops 1.5 ounce soy blend sugar and spice gourmet soy candles. That's where I got this one from. And this one here is from Tiffany Candles. It's Fruity Loops, which essentially is Fruit Loops. All right, so this one from Canada from Make Sense was a fluted tart, like one flute. I gave one to my mom because she really liked it. It's a fluted tart, so I cut it in half. It's just a traditionally sized fluted tart, so there's nothing different about it. So it was like, you know, about this big. So I cut it in half and it did those two warmers. I'm gonna sneeze at some point. Sorry. Thanks. Isn't tight, bless you. All right. Same goes with this one. I split this in half and I put half in the same areas, and same with Tiffany's, half, and put them in the two areas. Okay. So, I definitely have a lot to say about certain ones. The one that surprised me, because I haven't had the best throw from this company with other melts that I've tried, and I was not very impressed with the bags that these came in, because I don't think they're easy, like the Poly number 5 bags. Like, I don't think they're like, they're not the same bags as you get with other items. These things, it feels so much thinner. So I always wonder, because the scent is escaping through the bag, and that's why I haven't had the best luck with them. But I will say that Fruit Loops from Make Sense Candles, it actually did very well on a scale of 1 to 10. And these were all true on Fruit Loops, with the exception of one. This was true on Fruit Loops, like open a box of Fruit Loops, huff it, and it's exactly the same, minus the powdery substance that might come in your nose from the Fruit Loops. Anyway, this was definitely Fruit Loops strength on this little fluted tart. I would give it an 8 out of 10. The fluted tart's slightly smaller. It's not like an ounce and a half each. I'd say it was probably 1 ounce. So it did really, really well considering. It was probably only a 1 ounce fluted tart split in half. Did really, really well. Smelled just like Fruit Loops. I had to turn it off, but it was still going really, really strong at about 6 hours, which again, like I said before, with this particular company, that's really good because I haven't had the best luck with throw, and I'm not sure if it's because of the bags I received my items in, it leaching, that kind of thing, so I'm not quite sure. But I will say Fruit Loops. If you like Fruit Loops, is a Canadian vendor, but she does ship to the United States. Make Sense candles. Definitely give it a try when she opens back up in September. So that's really cool. And then we have Fruit Loops from Make Sense candle, or from Sugar and Spice Gourmet Soy Candles. Okay, now I always write down the date I received these items at my house, which means because I went with my friend Sarah on this order, she had it like by the time we ordered it, it shipped to her. Sarah waited to fill a box and then sent it to me. It was likely we actually probably ordered this at the beginning of May, but it says I got this in June 16th to be exact of this year. Okay. The reason why I'm saying this up is like, holy cow. Wow. I really like Sugar and Spice Gourmet Soy Candles / wax. I like the wax. Very strong. Now, I do find a huge difference when I receive my orders from Sugar and Spice right away, like even within a month. They're not as strong, but it's cured. It cured for a full 2 months, at least from the time I had it. So let's say 3.5 months, let's say, because I didn't melt this until the end of August. So it did really well. And I split it in half, kind of like 2/3, 1/3, because one of my melters is a little smaller than the other. But essentially it went to the same place as that other melt I just told you guys about. I could have probably cut this in quarters and just put 1/4 in each of these melters and it would have been fine. The strength of this particular melt was a 10 out of 10. It was throw mama out of the house. Wow. And it was the first one I ever melted. I did this one first and it was like, holy cow, this is Fruit Loops. So again, if you love Fruit Loops, wow, this was excellent. Let them cure a little bit. I understand there's soy, so I'm new at this still. I'm hearing soy doesn't last a super amount of time, but yet soy needs a little bit of time of curing and marinating, things like that. So I think that this was a good benchmark to melt this. So about 2.5 months or so, or 3 months after it was probably poured, because they do pour it to sell. Like it's not ready to ship. They pour for your order. So this one kicked butt. This was a 10 out of 10 in every sense of the way. The smell was amazing. The throw was wonderful. I ended up having to turn this off after 8 hours, and I'm like, okay, I need to put something else. Like I had this going on in the day and I wanted to switch over so I could put my evening melts in. I'm certain this one would have probably kicked my butt all through the night and into the next day. Highly recommend that. I've got an order coming from Sugar and Spice. I have lots of Sugar and Spice as well. Really like that company, and for $1.85 a cent shot. And again, if you let it cure for a while and cut it into quarters, wow, you're gonna get your money's worth for sure. So anyway, really like that one. Now this last one, I love Tiffany candles. I love her website, super easy. She restocks all the time. I love Tiffany candles. There's not a lot that I have tried that I don't like. This one, however, I wasn't as fanatical about. And so it is Fruity Loops, and I received this one in my house April 27th. So this probably came like ordered in March, I would say, ish. And it smells just like Fruit Loops on cold. Like it literally, again, open the box, huff some Fruit Loops, and that's exactly what you smell. Problem being though, so I guess scent appeal was a 10 out of 10. It smells, it really smelled the same. 10 out of 10 on cold. But when I started melting this, when it was fully melted and pulled out into my warmers, again, the same warmers I've talked about already. This is split in half went to the one right over my shoulder, the other half into the kitchen. I actually had to stop and go, like, there was nobody here. I'm like, is there someone smoking outside? Like, I'm from a non-smoker like myself. I felt like there was someone smoking, like, in the distance, and like the wind was picking up and I could smell it, and I didn't have any windows open. So I was like, what the heck is going on? to maintain the coolness in my home, I try to keep the windows closed until the later evening and then open them up to air everything out. So anyway, I was like, what the heck? And then I was like, what's going on? And I looked, I'm like, it's got to be this. It had for me and my nose or psyche or whatever it might be, there was a little bit of a hint of cigarette smell. I don't know what to say. I didn't like this because of that. It still, when it came close to it, smelled like Fruit Loops. But again, when I walked out of the room, came back in again, I was like, no, it totally smells like there's slight cigarette smell, nicotine. So it could have thrown probably for a day. I actually ended up turning this off after 6 hours. It wasn't the strongest throw. I would say that it probably was only a 6.5 out of 10 while it was melting, which I was okay with because again, that smell was there, and I like Tiffany's. I really do. I've ordered from Tiffany's before a couple times. I plan on ordering from her again in the future, absolutely. But this one just, I don't know. There was something about it that I just didn't like. So that is it, you guys. Just the 3. But, you know, like, I wanted to give it a fair shake. So again, yeah. I really like Fruit Loops. I'm glad I'm done though. I actually went out and I haven't bought Fruit Loops cereal for decades, like probably 15 years. And I went out and bought my first box of Fruit Loops in that amount of time, just so I could do a photograph with for Instagram with Fruit Loops. So now I'm just like, okay, well, if I watch a movie instead of candy, I'm just gonna pour a cold bowl of cereal with Fruit Loops, because that is some sweet cereal. Holy moly. But yeah, it was very nice. We weren't allowed to have that when we were a kid. We weren't allowed to have that kind of cereal. So anyway, you guys, thank you very much for joining me for the wax melt off of Fruit Loops. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. That's all. So thank you. The clear winner today was Sugar and Spice Soy Candle Company, and then I'd say the Make Sense candles, and then Tiffany's. But again, I love Tiffany's. It's nothing to do with the company. It was just maybe my melt, but my brain likely was part of that issue too. So, all right, you guys, as always, be safe and have fun.